Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Lant. I'm your host, James Lankin, and my guest today is the founder of Gen2Gen Media, Mrs. Kamilah Thurmon. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Man, what a pleasure! One of my high school classmates. So it's definitely an honor to have you. How you been?
I've been good. I've been really, really good.
So let's get into it. Like, what is Gen2Gen Media?
Okay, so Gen2Gen Media is a production company that I founded probably like in 2019. And the goal is to create legacy documentaries for families, businesses, and it's all about preserving legacies. So my goal is to like pass down um, what I'm creating to the next generation. And so when I started it, it really was because I wanted to do something about Black families. I wanted to document Black families. That's really what the core of it was. I had been working in the field in reality TV for maybe about 15 odd years. And I was like, you know what? I really want to like do something that means something to my community while I'm working. Like what can I do that I'm passionate about? Because I was working, but I wasn't really passionate. And so a lot of times, we go to the matriarch, patriarch's funeral, we read the program, and we like, Grandma, she was a nurse? I ain't know Grandma was a nurse. She was a teacher. Real talk,
No,
I don't know. And I was like, you have Christmas, Easter, family vacations, you doing all this stuff with these important people, but you don't really know their lives. And so it was like really like I was just passionate about that. I was like, people need to know. Black people need to know about their families. And so that was really the core of it. And I did like a couple of videos with different patriarchs of the family and like creating these like legacy documentaries. And it was well received, but it really wasn't. I think it's hard to convince people the importance of something like that. People will say, "Oh, I'll just pull up my phone." It's like you and I can talk about it now, and people are like, "Oh, that's great." But when it comes to like really paying, people are really hard to pay.
Oh.
But they also are like, "We're gonna put our phones up, and we could just film grandma." But you could do that, but are you asking her the right questions? Are you really getting to like know? And some people do invest in it. Like I had joined this group. It was storytellers, and I had joined it like around that 2019 or to 2020, and they did, and it was all about building that legacy for families, and it was different professionals, and it is a moneymaker for people. But I did find that a lot of people that were in the organization, they weren't Black, they weren't looking like me. And I found like I just, and that was more of a charge. Like, we need to do this. Like, this is important for our communities as well. But a lot of times it's all about investing that for grandma. People try to make ends meet. You putting grandma in the nursing home, and that's all you can afford. You may not be able to afford to put a camera in her face or write a book. And people are doing that. Like, they are creating spaces where you can learn more about your family members. But I do think for our communities, it just was taking a lot of work to convince us that that was important and that our legacies was something that we needed to build. So it morphed into still creating legacy documentaries, but then I ended up doing businesses instead of like families.
One of the things is interesting. You said you did reality TV.
Yes.
It feel like that's a totally
It's a
different.
big switch. It is. And I still do it. That's the thing. I still work. I still work in it. So after COVID, everything was digital. So you could do everything online. And I had transitioned primarily to like post production.
Mhm.
So with post production, you are getting fed the film, the audio, and you're working closely with the editors. And I was doing that in California. So you really don't have to do the in office. So we were all online. And I mean, I just got off a show. I did Impact Atlanta on BT. So you could just do it from your home. And so we're all on this universal system, and Zoom, always zooming it up, doing Zoom meetings all the time. But yeah, you get it. You have all of the footage, and you have all your audio, and you're working with your editor, and you're making the show.
Because you was doing reality TV, and let's let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know, like some of the shows don't don't paint the best
Oh, yeah, they don't.
picture, right?
Yeah.
So was that one of the big inspirations because you wanted to show a totally different side of Black?
Yes, and I think also it didn't it wasn't my space. So I feel like I was working in reality because it was fun and I started when I was in my 20s. And I think for reality is very if you're working behind the scenes, it's very connection based. So once you're connected to different people, people see you working hard, people see you're smart and you're getting things done, then, "Oh, you should meet so and so. You should" so you're it's all about your connections. So because of that, I moved up and I worked a lot. And I think in your 20s, it was fresh. It was exciting. You're doing different things, different days. So I think the motivation for me was that I was kind of growing up. And so I was like, well, is this the direction that I really want? I had been moving, but I don't know if I had thought really about the content. Like, do I really want to project this content daily? Is this fitting my personality? And when I really sat with it, I was like, I really would like to, and I always had that idea of like documenting families. And it's something my aunt had did years prior, and I never forgot it. I remember she had sat my grandmother down with her sisters, and she asked different questions, and we still have that tape to this day where it's like, and they've all have passed. So it's interesting to watch it now, but just to learn about their upbringing and their dynamic together. And so when she did that, it really resonated with me. So I think I was like, that would be cool to really make this into a business. So I think I had just grown up and I was like, what am I? And I don't want to say that people in reality aren't grown because that's not, I think I had just grew up into what I wanted to do. So a lot of people working hard, successful, doing great in reality television. And there's different genres of it. Like I think reality gets such a bad name because you're thinking, oh, housewives, they in there fighting. But it's not always like that.
Mhm.
You know, if you like a good HGTV show, that's considered reality. You like a game
Oh,
show,
yes.
that's considered reality. So it's all these different forms of it. Yes, you do have the docuseries that's like a soap opera. But I do think even with that is there are people working hard and it is story based. So I do feel like it was an easy transition in the sense that I'm still working with everyday people. I'm still like having to craft stories about everyday life. So it even though it seems like a jump, it really kind of wasn't. Cause I really am moving into like documentaries, which can kind of tie into reality because you are working with what you're given from that particular talent. It's just not scripted.
What how do you think you would do with scripted? Because you do a lot of you say you do a lot of unscripted.
Tried scripted for a minute. You have to really love to write and love, but I think the common ground is the creativity, because even with reality, you still have to be creative. You the people you're given what you're given, right? But I think the one of the things I can say that I love to see in reality is that we really maneuver some of that stuff. Like, some of the stuff people like, I don't know if you ever heard talent say, I never said it like that. They
Yeah,
be
yeah,
in the
yeah.
reunion. I never said that. And sometimes they don't say it like that because we do maneuver stuff, but we are being creative in the sense of, like, just making something out of nothing, and I think that's some creativity right there, but,
Okay, so all right, and I hate to interrupt, but
go ahead.
I find that interesting, right? Because you said the person said, "Well, I didn't say it like that."
Mhm.
So y'all don't feel a way like because I get it. It definitely helps the audience
Correct.
and like take the product in, but if you change the way somebody said or what they said,
Mhm.
that changes the whole dynamic of
I
everything.
will say this, as ethically, we're not reaching. So you can't make them go left when they were going right. So they can say that they ain't say it like that, but we may take 2 words out. At the end of the day, the context is still the same. You didn't like her for a reason. And so we're not manipulating it so far. It's not like a total lie. I will say that. It's never really a total lie. What we're following is a storyline. So at the end of the day, you can't watch a show from episode 1 to episode 12 and not have a story. You
Okay.
need to know what we're tracking. You need to know like what so if A and B is happening and we need to get to C, you need to track that. So I think that's where the division happens in those reunions when they say like they may not have said the exact words, but the context is that we needed to get you to see. We needed to get you here. And so we may do different scenes to get you here, but we you know what I mean? So I
Right.
feel like we're not going far left,
Okay.
but we are creating these storylines for these people. And I mean, and of course you're working with them as you're filming. And then when you get into post production, you're still kinda talking to them sometimes about the process and how you wanna get them to this end episode. Because if you just watched it raw, then you'd be like, "What is going on?" So we have to edit it, we have to cut it, it's time sensitive, it has to be within a time frame. So it's a lot of information you have to pull. And I mean, but when you're thinking reality TV and you're thinking a docuseries, then a lot of that A, B storylines to get you to see are a lot of like salacious stuff. But that's just because that's that genre. But yeah, you're gonna get she doesn't like him and he don't like her and now they fighting and all that stuff. But I will say this though. You can't say what you want to say about reality. Reality has lasted and people love it. And it's a moneymaker. So I feel like it's feeding something for a lot of people. If it wasn't working, then it'd be gone. But it was fun doing them. I mean, and I didn't really work on a lot of those. Well, I'll take it back. So the most popular show I've worked on was Jersey Shore. And that's
Oh,
salacious. So I did like 3 seasons of that. And then I did Tiny and Toya and then spinoff Toya Family Affair. I've done HGTV. I've done Design Star, Christina on the Coast. So a lot of those, I will say, I don't think I've hit a lot of the docuseries where it's a lot of that.
mhm.
Housewives of Atlanta, I didn't work on those and things like that.
Is there a genre that you enjoy working on more?
So in my space now, where I am now, I do want to do more documentaries. I do want to do stuff like I just watched the series on Katrina, which was like phenomenal on Hulu.
Huh? I
So
didn't know they had one.
oh, yeah, it's real good. It's one on Netflix too, but both are excellent. So it's like I feel like that's kinda where I wanna transition into doing stories about people, but that are a little bit more meaningful.
Let's go into storytelling because
Okay.
you mentioned it a lot.
Mhm.
Is that something you was doing growing up?
My grandmother was a school psychologist. My mom was a social worker. So I feel like organically, I have this kinda connection sometimes with people. So, like, and I always am trying to figure out people. So, I know, like, if I have like, with my kids as a parent, like, I'm always trying to figure out, what's behind what you just said, the emotion behind it, or what did you really mean? Because I know you said no, but it's something deeper there. And I think it's because of that background of just human connection with my grandmother and my mother we can go into spaces and like sit down with people and really talk with them. So I feel like a lot of times I get people really telling me more about their lives and like feeling comfortable to do so. And I think a little bit too is that I'm nosy. You kind of you kind of want to like know you be like, what happened here? Why you do that? So I think because of that, it's allowed me to like organically like stories. I love talking to people because you really find out people. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times people want to share. Like I think a lot of times people want to feel like, oh, somebody really cares about what's going on in my life. Let me tell you what happened to me. Because
Yeah.
people just want that release. So it's kind of like this therapy way that I think my grandmother and my mother had that now I do have. So I think that code like goes hand in hand with the storytelling. It's like you really are like telling people's story. You really are creating this space for people to see how this person got, like I said, from A, B to C. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that's fascinating. Yeah, people live really fascinating lives.
There's different characteristics that men and women have. So and of course, you being a woman,
Mm,
do you think it's a difference the way a man tells a story and a
mm.
woman tells a story?
That's a good question. I It probably is in the sense of maybe what you get from the other person, like the person you're interviewing, I think you might get a woman if she's sitting down with a woman, she might be more inclined to be a little bit more vulnerable.
Mhm.
So I think it might be just based off the response. Um, but I don't know. I think 9 times out of 10, if you just get people can register, feelings from different people, that energy, even if it's a man or a woman. So it might be the same, but that's a good one. I don't know.
Okay. Let's talk about, I want you to tell us what you're currently working on.
Okay. So currently through Gen2Gen Media, and I'm working on making their point. So it's a documentary about African American ballet instructors in Washington, D.C. So I've highlighted Sandra Fortune Green at Jones Haywood Dance School. It's a prominent dance ballet school in D.C. It's been in the D.C. community for really over 80 years. It was founded by Doris Jones and Claire Haywood, who were these ballet pioneers, like literally these women that were committed to the work.
Mm,
And because of them, um, they really have like a great lineup of um, successful entertainers. Hinton Battle, who has since passed, but he was Tony winning. Cheetah Rivera, like really big names that were high in Broadway around, I don't wanna say around the '70s, '80s because they were like legends.
mhm,
But even in the ballet world, Sandra Fortune Green, who is now the successor and is the artistic director at the ballet studio, she was the first American to compete in the second annual like ballet competition in Moscow. Like these women are like really breaking barriers. So it's Sandra Fortune Green, Virginia Johnson, who is, the artistic director of Dance Theater of Harlem. Not currently, she retired, like, last year, but once again, Dance Theater of Harlem, you have this phenomenal institution, and she was one of the founding members of it, but she's originally from Washington, D.C., and she was taught through Thurl Smith, and Thurl Smith she's 107, I think. She's in a nursing home now, but she's also this ballet legend in the DC community. And so these women I'm honoring, I'm forgetting names, Lynn B. Walters, Beatrice Davis Williams. So what I did was around 2021, I received grant funding. And so I did this the ballet film, and I was simultaneously doing Lee's Flower Shop. So Lee's has been in the DC community since 1945. It's a black-owned flower shop grounded in the community. So like I said, these were the stories that I wanted to tell, and so I was like, "Okay, this is the direction I'm gonna go." But that's what I'm working on now. So I'm having a screening at, the National Museum of African American History and Culture on November 1st. So I'm really excited about that. But that's my career project is that I finished the ballet film.
How'd you meet the
The women.
mhm,
So when I lived in DC, my girls, I have a friend and she said, if your girls are interested in ballet, you should go to this class with Beatrice Davis Williams and it's the Davis Center. So, it's very organic, but when I think about my life, a lot of my situations have been very connection based, so like I was telling you. So I feel like when you ask me how did this happen, Imma tell you it's through people, it's through my connections. So she said, "You should join the class with your girl," so I did. Miss Davis at the time was celebrating 50 years and she was going to have a big event. And so she learned what I did and I was telling her about Ginger Den and literally in the beginning stages of it. And she said, "You really should do a video on me. It'd be great to add to the program. So I'll be like your first client." And then she said, "If you need additional funding, because as we all know, like to make any film or anything happen, you need money. It's
mhm.
expensive." So she said, "You should really look into grants. DC really promotes a lot of artists and they really will, um, provide funding. You should look into it." And so I did. And she partnered with me with a lot of grants because I didn't have a nonprofit at the time, and so she was like, "We'll partner together and you can finish the film." So that's how it started with ballet. So I did like a 15-minute piece on her. It was well received, and I did get the funding, grant funding, DC Commission of the Arts, Humanities DC, because you gotta remember these women are rooted in DC community. Like you should give money to do a story on them. You know what I mean? So I did her, but when I was researching Miss Davis and like really trying to make this video about her, this I like to call it my legacy documentary. When I was doing my legacy documentary on her, I was finding out more and more about ballet, and the history of ballet for African Americans is a lot rooted in DC. Like you really have some heavy hitters that were pushing out this new generation of dancers in this field that's stereotypically white.
Mhm.
So I was like, wow, no one's documented this. And it actually has had someone did document it. It's a film called Artists of the Dance that was done in the 70s on Jones Haywood, but not of all the women as a whole because it really is a really deep community.
That's a long time ago too. I mean,
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So that's kind of how it started with ballet.
wow.
So it was just really through my kids and going to a dance school.
Do you mentioned the money part earlier,
Yes.
right? How big a deterrent is that? Because now, unfortunately, not everybody is gonna have access to grant government funding,
Right, right.
stuff like that.
It's huge. I mean, so is your question like, how did I make it happen?
No, like basically the person who's coming to you, but they don't have them. Like, how
Mm.
often do you experience that? Like, you could feel that they really want to do it, but it's
Right.
just
I
a
get
money
you.
thing. Yeah.
It depends on the outcome of what you're gonna get. You have to be realistic. Cause I mean, I've done it where I pull my phone out because phones now are great and, you really films are being made with phones. So, there have been situations and I've had clients where I've had to pull my phone out because that's the budget that was allocated. So I will say this, I knew for Miss Davis and I knew for well, no, I did use my phone for Miss Davis. Um, the ballet film that I just currently did and then Lee's, I did want a crew. And I was like, these stories I want to kind of elevate. So Miss Davis came out great and, like I said, it was really well received. But yes, there were moments where I was coming to different programs with my camera on my phone. You get what I'm saying? So, and that's what the budget allowed me to do.
How long does it take to gather like the research, the film, and everything you need to
Years,
years?
years. I started around 2021 for Lee's. We finished no, maybe I started in 2020 because we finished, yeah. I started in 2020. We finished in 2022. And that's the end of 2022. So we had the big premiere 2022 at the MLK Library. And then at the top of 2023, I did festivals. So yeah, it was about 2 years. Then I took a break from the ballet one, but I was kind of doing stuff. Cause here's the thing, I'm working, I'm a mom, and I'm working off my grant budget. This is my grant budget. So anytime I would get a new grant, then I would do a little bit more work.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, you're not gonna get the full bang until later. And I talked to the ladies about it. It was like no rush because you gotta remember nobody's rushing to tell their stories. That's the thing I feel like I was really pushing like this untold story. These are the stories like people aren't running to go see, because it's everyday work. But there's magic in that. And I kind of felt like, you know what, I'm gonna highlight this. This is phenomenal. These women are doing phenomenal work. They're creating a space for kids that wouldn't think of dance as an option.
Mm.
The flower shop, they're allowing Black people to see like a business can withstand 75 years. You know what I mean? And it's gone from the grandma to the son to the granddaughter. Like, that's phenomenal. Like, that needs to be celebrated. So I think that was like a push for me to like really tell these stories in a very elevated way. So that meant I did need the grant funding
Okay.
to get a crew, to have a better camera. You get what I'm saying? to really make it beautiful. Because if you get your phone, it's fine. You can make it work.
Mhm.
But when you do it in that route, it just creates a more elegant space. It's well received. You receive it better because it's beautiful. The audio is great. You get color graded. I mean, it's different. So yeah, it takes years.
You was talking about, family and kids.
Yes.
You're a wife, you got
Yes.
kids. So how do you manage that time? Because I'm sure it takes a lot of work to bring these documents together,
Yes.
and it's a lot of work being a parent.
It is. So it's a lot of late nights. It's no joke. Like I really feel like I had to be passionate about it to do it. I had to have it because there's just no way. So it was a lot of times I would be up late because I was like, okay, I had to take the kids here and then you had to cook. And I have a good spouse. I think Terrence and I are very team oriented. So I do feel like if it's like, "Oh, Terrence, I gotta really do this deadline," and then he'll help. And then one of the reasons why we moved back was for family. Now, you getting when you come family is family.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But but family's helpful too. So there's days like I might say Saturday I have to go because I did a lot of research at MLK Library. They have a department called the DC's People's Archive.
Mhm.
So it's literally anything, everything DC is archived. Like just and most of the stuff, it used to be Chocolate City.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff was helpful to me when I was doing my documentary. So yeah, I would be like, okay, can you watch the kids? I'm gonna be at the library for a couple of hours. So it's like really working with your unit
Mhm.
to like make things work. And like I said, late nights, and I would be working, that was another thing too. So another issue with me still working on shows, I'm working on West Coast time. So
Oh,
I would because I'm working in my home computer, doing my thing, but everybody else, well, not everybody. Some people are in New York, somewhere in Arizona, but for the most part, the majority were in LA. So because of that, it's later nights, so so it was a lot. So I think it's a balancing act and, people do what matters to them. Something matters, you gonna make it work.
yeah.
So I do feel like that was another thing too. I just found the time to make it work.
Now you're telling the stories, and I think it's safe to say you're more focused on the Black community. Is that accurate?
Correct, yes.
So does it help? Because you mentioned like being in DC, and we got so many different resources
Yeah,
in this area, and
yeah,
and just being around a good population of successful Black people.
correct.
Does that actually help you with Gen Media?
It does, and that's actually I'm glad you asked that because my goal is to expand. Like, I'm sure there's stories like this in North Carolina, and there's stories like this in Atlanta, and it would be awesome to create a space, if a network really wanted to, like, pursue this further, where you're highlighting all these great organizations and businesses that have been around since segregation, because that's a big achievement. Like, you were around when you weren't supposed to be around, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, that's
so I
it.
do
But
feel like I would like to go further. But yes, being in DC is extremely helpful because culturally DC just has this foundation that has been um I can't think of a word, but just fancy. They had like the Duke Ellingtons and Bohemian Caverns and we had an art culture. So I think because of that, it laid the groundwork for just different I think Howard played a big part, but just different avenues for Black people to experience, and because we became very layered here. You could be an artist, you could be a historian, and because you got DC and you got the museums. I mean, it's so many avenues for DC
yeah.
for Black people. So I do think yes, that it did help me to have stories to tell if I was in another state. But I do feel like I would love to expand beyond DC though. For me.
Did you like your time in California?
I did. I did like my time. I will say so. My trajectory was this. I had graduated from Morgan State University, go Bears. And after I left Morgan, I had always been fascinated with New York. like always. So my aunt lived in New York, and so my grandmother, we would go to like Broadway plays when I was like in high school, and so we would go for the weekend, and I was fascinated. I loved New York, so I was like, once I graduate from Morgan, I'm going to New York, and I did. So I went to New York, and I loved it, but I had worked, and then someone said, you should consider DC. I mean, not DC, LA. You should consider California because I've been working in the field. So I had, once again, connections. I had worked for an ad agency as an administrative assistant. I went to like a mixer and I met a young lady who was hiring production assistants for The Apprentice. And so The Apprentice was like my first show.
Okay.
And so I did a couple seasons of The Apprentice, did Project One Runway, did a couple seasons of Project Runway, and did Design Star for HGTV. So that was all in New York. So I was there about 5 years. I did that in New York. And then on Design Star, I met Sally Ann Salsino, who did Jersey Shore. And so she was the EP at the time. And so, like I said, connections. And then I'm a hard worker too. Like I work hard. And so I feel like, you get noticed. And she was like, you should move to LA. You should consider moving to LA. And if you do, I'll give you a job. Because she was gonna do Design Star too. And so then I was like, and then you young and you feel kind of fearless
Yeah.
when you that age. You're like, oh yeah, I go to California. And I had met another young lady, once again, connections, and she wanted to move. So we were like, oh, we're gonna move in together. So we moved to California. And that's kind of how it was very organic. And in both situations from New York to California, I didn't really have per se like everything lined up. So I was gonna say it was really young, naive, free, just living. So to answer your question, I did enjoy my time. I do think I'm more of a New Yorker at heart than I am a California person. But I love the water. I love the weather. It probably is to some degree sometimes the people. So like in New York, people were warning me about New York. They were like, man, they rude, they hardcore. But I found that I like the people in New York. It's a real like up front. California, before I went, people kind of phony. We can't read it.
Yeah.
But it's the truth. So you get to California, it is like that. You do have it. I've had stories of some stabbing you in your back kind of stuff. And you're like, dang, that was shady. But it's like that. It's a very much a little bit of a dog eat dog. So I did find, but you also find a community. And I did find that. So I won't say that it was everybody. Like I have really great friends that I met in California. So yes, I do miss it. But if I had to go back anywhere, it'd probably be New York before it was California.
So you mentioned two big cities,
Mhm.
LA, New York. But now we got social media. And when you moved back, that was like 2000, that was early 2000, right?
No. When I moved back
No,
to
no, I'm saying when you moved to initially to California,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Yeah,
early
yeah,
2000.
yeah.
So with the you had the two, you got those big cities,
Mhm.
but now you got social media.
Correct.
Do you think it's even necessary to be like in New York, LA, or like a big media market city
You
now?
probably don't have to. You're right. Because now this, and I don't even know this world right now. Because social media, I'm like, I feel like an old lady sometimes with it. Because you really can create, it's a space, it's a whole world. You could create an avenue, and you see it, influencers are in creating an avenue where you don't have to live in LA and New York to be in this avenue. Like, for instance, it's this guy, and I swear I don't even know his name, but he's an influencer. And then he was at a party of like a popular actress. And my husband was like, oh, that's that guy that's on Instagram. And so we went and I said, who is this? And go to his page, it's like 13 million followers. So yeah, you don't have to do that because now marketers are looking at influencers before they're looking at anything else because it's all about eyeballs. We're looking at Instagram, we're looking at Facebook, TikTok. So yeah, it's definitely like you can create a space that you can be creative. Yes, on TikTok and Instagram and all these social media avenues. And you don't necessarily have to go the traditional route of just grinding. I feel like we were grinding back in the day, but I mean, they're grinding too because they're creating, and I'm sure it's work for them.
They gotta edit all that
You
stuff.
got to edit, and it's work. So yes, I do think that it's a new era for sure that we're stepping into, and I feel like now everyone's trying to figure out how does that meet, how does that collide, like because people are still watching TV,
Uh,
so how does that avenue work together?
well, it was something you said that I find kind of interesting. You kind of gave the impression that you're not really active, good with social media. Is that a
Yeah, I'm not.
so? But you building a brand, especially a media
Right.
brand, don't you feel like you kind of have to be?
I think yes and no. So when I follow different documentarians, and that because this is a space now that I'm in, I feel more so than I am in reality.
Mhm.
They don't really have a lot of followers
Okay,
because
hold on,
okay.
because I don't want you to get this wrong.
Okay.
Not followers,
Okay.
just networking on social media,
Oh, on social
like
media.
because you kind of said like you kind of gave this like blasey blah answer about
Right,
social
right,
media,
right,
but I don't know that, and it could just be me. I just feel like when especially if you're in a media space,
right.
you kind of gotta have a
You do. I'm not. You're right. I think it is. I think I have to probably propel into that space more than I do now. Real talk. But I do feel like you can't underestimate connections too.
oh
So I do feel like I lean more into that because that's me.
yeah, yeah.
So because of that, I feel like avenues have happened for me here because of my connections, my, like, personal connections
Mhm.
than social media. But, yes, for media and pushing a brand, especially a media brand, yes, you need to leverage with social media. And trust me, I've tried. So I hired somebody at one point. I was, "Okay, you're not good at it, but you got your grant funded, let's," and I did, and she was helpful, and I got more followers there. But you gotta maintain that. Yeah. It's a hustle. So, yes, I do agree for you. It is an avenue you need to that is just not my strength, and for sure, Imma get there.
Is there a documentary in the
Mhm.
future that you think about that really excites you that you would want to create?
Mm.
Like a typical like a not necessarily a person, but just like a type
Just
of
a
story.
story.
Yeah.
Um, that's a good one too. I will say, and this is probably because it's just fresh in my mind, after watching Katrina, I do like stories where bigger events affect people in different ways, and you're learning about that. So I would say I would be intrigued to, like, work on something where this big event happened and to get, like, this personal touch on how it affected different people. So I wouldn't mind working on something like that if something like that came my way. But there's stories everywhere. Like, that's the thing about this genre is that everyone has a story, and there's always something to tell, and there's always something to pull from people. And then if you go into documentaries and you watch them, I mean, you some people have really full lives, like, and it's just interesting to, like, document and see. I think I watched, Nina Simone's
Mm,
documentary on Netflix a couple years back, but that one always registered with me because I knew of her music, but I didn't know her story.
yeah.
So you're, like, compelled to, like, really sit and watch, like, "Wow, like, this happened to this lady?" So I think that there's always something to, like, dig into. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to end it on a note like so we talked about like the next documentary like
Yes.
do you feel like do you feel like our stories, black stories, do you feel like it's enough good ones because we got
Mm.
so much,
Mhm.
unfortunately we got some good stories, but unfortunately a lot of our media and TV is negative fuel.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you feel like we have enough positive to be
I
somewhat
do.
combat?
I do, and I think that's when I think of the stories I have told currently from Lee's to, making their point about the ballet pioneers, it's very hope driven. Like, I do feel like it resonates with me, and I think that's something I talked about earlier when I said I wanted to really have something the content needed to register with me, and I think my base has always been very hopeful, meaning like my being, like I'm God fearing, I believe in God, but it allowed me to kind of like look at life in a very inspirational way. I think there's always like something good and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I do feel like, to answer your question, yes, I think that there's inspiration in enough stories, not just African Americans, just people. And I think that those have to be told to just create that same hope for that next generation. Cause you don't need, cause life already is hard. We dealing with stuff now. You know, that the government, everything now looks so dreary. Like, okay, so for instance, I had screened Making Their Point in February, kind of my rough cut. I brought the ladies in. I brought other dancers in the dance community, other artists. We watched the film. People were crying. So I feel like people need it. Like you need stories where you feel good afterwards because life can be so hard. It can be beating you down. So yeah, I do feel like, to answer your question, yes, there are enough stories where hope can resonate. And then that's my goal, is to put that out there.
And I said I was gonna end it with that, but I can't end it with that
Okay,
because
go ahead.
you do legacy documentaries.
Yes.
So how do you want your legacy
Ooh,
documented?
ooh, 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 ooh. Um, I want to probably piggyback on what I just said. I do want people to know that I'm always trying to find the good, and I feel like I want that to be my legacy because there's you gotta have the bad, so you gotta have it to get to the good. So, but I want people to always remember that I was trying to pull the good out so that so that that can get passed on. Because I do think that that's essential. Like, it's not really about me. So I do think that that's something that I push. Like, this is me giving the next generation this story that's going to help them. So that's finding that good in you, that's finding that good in her, that's pushing that next business owner, that next ballerina, to see how these people did it. This, through something hard and tough, they found the good. So I think that I would want that to be my legacy. And I think that's why I still work, but that's why I wanted this to be, I wanted Gen to Gen to be my legacy. You know what I mean? I wanted this to be my legacy.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming by. It's
Thank
been
you
an
for
honor.
having
Oh
me.
yeah, it's been a pleasure,
I
getting to
appreciate
talk
this.
this thing. And I just want to congratulate you on everything you got going.
Thank
And I
you.
wish you all the best with the upcoming documentary that you're screening at the African American Museum.
Okay, you better come with your daughter.
Oh, I'm gonna come.
All right.
Before we go, tell the people
Yes.
how they can follow you and again how they get
Okay,
support
you
what you
can
got.
come to, or you can visit my site. Should I look at the camera?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. It's www.gen2gen media, and that's GEN, the number 2, GEN media. .com, and you can get updates on the screening, and then you can watch my Emmy nominated film, The Legacy of Lee's Flower Shop. Now, currently, and I gotta put a little plug in there, the film is on PBS, on WHUT, WETA. It's on a digital platform for University of Maryland. It's called The Clarice, and it is also on Quelle TV. So different ways you can see my other work.
All right. Well, again, thank you for joining me. And again, I wish you all the best with it.
All right, thank you, James.
All right. I want to take the time to thank everyone for listening and watching the podcast. I truly appreciate your support. You can follow me on Instagram at conversations_with_Lant. My Facebook is also Conversations with Lant. You can listen to the podcast on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts, and you can watch it on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. Again, thank you all for listening. Have a great day.